Hey everyone, have you ever thought about selling shoes on eBay? Well, this is the show for you because we are going to explore how to go into eBay and sort through the shoes that are there and figure out what's profitable sell and what's not. So stay tuned for the shoe show. Hey everyone, my name is Jason, otherwise known as Prof Sales, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've never been here before, we talk about lots of things revolving around reselling, specifically eBay, but some other platforms as well. And we do these shows every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually about 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And they're also live shows, so there's always a live chat going, so you will hear me talk to people in the chat, answering questions. And if you have questions, go right ahead and type the word question in the chat or some question marks in front of your question so I can pick it out and try to answer it. So I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. And this is usually the day of the week when we talk about niches on eBay. So we're going to jump right into that. We're letting the room fill up a little bit. But why in the world would you sell shoes? Well, that's a great question. And I have recently come to start selling shoes in the last, basically 3 months. And I'm going to share with you today some of my research techniques for selling shoes. I am certainly not an expert by any means, but I have learned a few things, and hopefully you can take some of this and use it and apply it to your own business. It'll work for shoes, but it'll work for other niches as well. So we're going to break out how to go about this process of searching for an item and whether or not you should sell it. So we're going to do some screen shares today. I'm going to screen share eBay search windows. We're also going to talk about some of my recent solds that I've had, as well as update my shoe journey as well. As some of you know, I'm trying to get to 500 listings in shoes by the end of the year. So I will show you where I'm at with that and how I've been doing so far. And maybe you'll pick up some tips. Maybe you'll give me some tips as well. All right. So first off, niches. Why are they important? I think as a seller on eBay, you should absolutely choose a niche or two. I would say preferably two, honestly, and go after specific areas to sell in. Why? Because you can really focus in. You can get this laser focus on a category, a niche, and really gain a lot of knowledge about it, so that when you're out in the wild of thrift stores or garage sales or yard sales or what have you, you're able to spot profitable opportunities very, very quickly and easily, even to the point where you don't even need to look things up after a while. And I can do that like in the jean niche, for instance. I am not good enough to do that in the shoe niche. I know some brands and some types and some things that look great, but just to see a pair of shoes and say, hey, is that pair of shoes going to be worth selling or not? I am not at that level, but I'm still learning. And you can do the same thing as long as you pick a niche and you really, zone, or you really focus in on that niche. I think it's the best way to sell, in my opinion. And shoes is a great niche to pick because they're plentiful. They are something that virtually everyone wears at some point in their life. And you also can usually find good profitable shoes in a lot of different places, because shoes are kind of expensive, especially when they're new, especially when you get into brand names. So they tend to hold value a little bit better, I think, than a lot of clothing items sometimes. It's not uncommon to see $100 clothing items that sometimes their resale value can only be $10, which is kind of disappointing when you find them. But shoes tend to hold up a little bit better than that. They tend to hold their resale value longer and for a higher number. So I think it's a great niche to get into, and we've gotten into it, like I said, in the last few months. We just started, but I'm going to break down with you with a screen share how we go about, finding good shoes to sell and so on. So we're going to start on the eBay search screen, and it should look something like this. And so if we just go up here to the top and up here, we're just going to type in here shoes. And we're going to pull up. Now, I'm talking about mainly pre-owned shoes, but obviously new shoes are another potential area for you to niche into if you have a good cheap supply, maybe at Ross or Marshall, stores like that. And you can see we have 18.7 million results for shoes. That's a pretty big category. But we're going to narrow that down so we can make it a little more manageable, because that is way too many shoes to try to sort through. So we're going to go to the used, which is 1.6 million, which now that's kind of interesting. Most of the shoes on eBay that are listed right now are new, and not as many are used. So you can look at that two different ways. You can say, well, there is a greater market for new, which there is. There's probably a little less margin, but maybe there's more opportunity in the used market if you know what you're selling. So once we narrow it down to this, it looks like we got about 2 million results in the pre-owned still. Sometimes the way eBay pulls this out is kind of funky. And we're going to narrow this down even more. We're going to go into, if you look over here, we've got different categories. So we're going to go to men's casual shoes. I'm not going to pick athletic, but that is certainly a great niche to be in. But we're going to pick men's casual. So now you see there's 92,000 listings on eBay. So now we get an idea of how big the casual shoe market pre-owned is on eBay. Okay, so about 92,000 listings. Now, so keep that number in mind, 92,000. So now let's go in over here and we're going to look at the number of completed listings. Why are we doing that? Because we want to get this magical number that we talk about in reselling a lot called sell-through. So what is sell-through? Sell-through just means how many shoes in a given time period sell versus how many were listed. And it's kind of a tricky number to sort through here. But you can see here that about 114,000 or 115,000 listings have completed in this time frame. This is probably a 90-day time frame, but we're going to do a quick count because I'm going to take you down to the bottom of the screen. I'm going to scroll way down, and you're going to see that there's 100 items per page. Okay, so we know that in general, each item that sells on this page is worth a 1% sell through. So let's do some quick counting. So there's 1. Anything that's green was a sold. 2. We're not going to worry about price right now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23. So, and you could do this, you could go into the next page, which also has 100 items and so on. You could keep refining this number down, but it gives us an idea that the average sell-through might be somewhere around 23%. Now, a lot of caveats to that number, guys. First of all, it's going to depend on the brands you get and so on. I would say this about that initial sell-through number I just showed you. Seek to have your number be higher than that. Now, as you get better and better at being a seller, you're going to learn what brands sell better, what fits, what condition, how to price better, take better photos, all these things. But kind of have that 23% number in your mind. And we don't know if that's a magical number to write now or that number would last all year long, but it's good to do this exercise every once in a while. So now let's go in and let's look at some specific brands. Now, remember, these are completed. Now, what's interesting about this is you can see over here, we had 118,000 complete. You can see kind of how big the market is with a specific brand. So we're going to pick a few brands here. Let's pick Johnston & Murphy, has 2,000, so it's decent size. Let's see if we have some other ones that are sort of a little bit bigger. Johnston & Murphy. Merrill, that's a brand that I know, 1622. So decent amount of listings have completed in it recently. Polo Ralph Lauren, 2100. Why not? Converse is 1400. There's a brand I don't know as well. I know of it. And let's pick one more. Just kind of curious. We'll pick Echo. And we're going to apply that. So now it's going to show us how many of these have sold or completed as well. So we get about 10,000 results here. And you can kind of get, now if you did this by brand, like if you did only Echo, go in and find out exactly the Echo sell through. But I like to start with more than one brand sometimes because I like to get a feel for what brands are selling compared to other ones. Like we see here right off the bat, these these 4 Echoes did not sell at these price points in these particular shoes. This Converse didn't sell. Here's some Merrell Chameleons. It sold, looks like, on auction for $19.99. Some Johnston & Murphy's that didn't move. Echoes that didn't move. Ralph Lauren that sold. Merrell that sat. Ralph Lauren. So you can go in now and you can start getting kind of a feel for what the prices are. Like we can see here with Ralph Lauren, this $18.99 best offer accepted. Okay, so they took even less than that. So that's not a lot of price. Not a very high price. Ralph Lauren, boat shoes, $19.95, one bid, so on. And if we wanted to get this by price to start with, if we want to look for maybe the most profitable brands in terms of how much they sell for, we can go up here and sort, and we'll just do it by price highest first. Highest were between these 5 brands we picked. Okay, well, here's some vintage Converse that sold. Now, if I saw that a shoe sold for $400 pre-owned, I would probably make a note of that and say, there might be a market for vintage Converses, right? I don't know a lot about Converse, but the fact that that shoe sold for that amount of money indicates there might be a vintage market out there. So I might make a note and say, all right, Converse, look for vintage. Now, what's vintage? Usually that means 20 years old or older in general in terms of eBay terms, but it may mean a little something different for this particular shoe, but I would definitely want to find out a little bit more about that. Here's some Ralph Lauren Crockett Jones bench made in England. Wow, these are interesting. They almost look like golf shoes to me. I can't remember what that type is called. Some of you shoe sellers are in it, but that's a specific type. So Ralph Lauren, it looks like, has some higher end shoes as well. There's another vintage Converse. See now, and it's Jack Purcell. So that Jack Purcell is definitely, there's a market for it if it's vintage. And there's another one even, probably the same seller because they look exactly the same. Some more Ralph Lauren alligator cap toe Oxfords. Okay, so there's something I might make a note of on Ralph Lauren. Hey, alligator, the alligator pattern, the alligator construction potentially has a higher market for it. Again, it's going to depend on other factors, condition, size, the actual model, and so on. But we're just kind of getting ideas, guys, of some of the higher ends here. Because even if you don't sell it for, even if you found this shoe and didn't sell it for $275, you sold it for $150, you'd probably be pretty happy. So it's a good way to go in and start learning, kind of what these brands can do for you. Now, here's a whole bunch of Ralph Lauren's that did not sell, some Echoes that did not sell, higher end. That doesn't mean it's a bad brand, just means they didn't sell. Here's another Ralph Lauren Velvet Bullion Horse. So really kind of a unique, that one's probably unique, more of a one-off, just kind of looking at it on face value. Black calf leather smoking. Ralph Lauren's a great name in just clothing and shoes in general. Some more Ralph Lauren nubuck suede leather. So again, you see kind of this detail on here. We could drill down on these listings if we wanted some more vintagey type Converse from the 60s and some All-Star vintage as well. So definitely a market for these older vintage Converses. And again, you're going to have to do more research to understand exactly what vintage means in terms of that brand. But you've got a market here. Jack Purcell's again. We've seen that one several times now. Another older pair of Ralph Lauren leather loafers maybe here. Maybe they got bid up, it looks like. Again, the alligator skin for Ralph Lauren. That's interesting to me. So these alligator skin cap toes and Oxfords tend to sell for higher dollar amounts, potentially. Here's a pair of Echoes. We haven't seen those yet. Leather Oxford business casual shoes, lace up. So we've got some higher end Echoes here as well. Another pair of Echoes, Seawalker tie Oxford. So maybe the Seawalker model is good in Echo. I would definitely make that as a potential type of model to look for. So I might write like Echo, and then below that write a bullet point, okay, Seawalker, and maybe even Seawalker Oxford, just to make it even more descriptive. Johnston & Murphy, there's that brand. So these are aristocrats. These are really cool looking. I would probably write Johnson & Murphy Aristocraft. I guess that says Aristocraft. And so that might be a potential model that would work for them. Some Echoes Gore-Tex boots. All right, so now it looks like these boots were $220. So this is probably a newer boot that's now used, pre-owned, but it's in great shape, and it's Gore-Tex. So Echo Gore-Tex boots would be something I would write down on my list to check out. And I could drill down on that. I could go and do a search and put in Echo Gore-Tex boots and just see kind of what the prices were in general for this particular part of the niche of Echoes. Here's a bunch more that didn't sell. Some more vintage Converse, Ralph Lauren lace-up Oxfords, so on. And we could just keep going down here. More Echo Seawalker. There's a Seawalker again. So that's definitely one to be on the lookout for. These are some pretty cool looking Chuck Taylor Converses, embroidered dragon black. Wow, those are wild looking. Some mock toe from Echo, just basic little Oxfords here, actually, or loafers rather, not even Oxfords, and so on. So you can see that. I should be back. So you can see from that, guys, that like if you go in and take a niche and then you start breaking it apart into smaller and smaller pieces, you can make what seems really, really big and unmanageable a lot easier to deal with. And I think if you start with like a few brands that are maybe some of the bigger number of brands in a niche, and by bigger number, I mean they have bigger numbers of listings, like we did, like they're 2,000, 1,500, and so on. So there's a decent sized market out there. And then start drilling down within those brands. And I got to tell you guys, like you can go to a store, like Karin and I have found this to be true. We will go to a store sometimes and we will try to look everything up. But it's just not efficient. I mean, and suppose you don't have internet connection. You know, at some point, I'm just going to say it like this. If you're a clothing seller, or more specifically in this case, a shoe seller, you are going to have to learn your brands and your items and your products without always depending on the phone to look things up. Because there's going to be times you're not going to have a cell service or internet service. There's going to be times when you find things you can't find anything on. You're going to have to go with your gut. And there's going to be other times you just don't have a lot of time. I mean, time is money. Imagine if every brand you looked at, you had to look up. It would take you hours to get through one rack or one part of a store. I mean, it would be crazy. You've got to learn brands. You've got to learn models and fits within those brands. And the only way you're going to do that is to do a little research. I mean, you kind of need to do this research on the back end before you can do it. You can do some before you go out in the field. You do some, you go out in the field, you apply that knowledge, then you come back and you do some more and you learn. Great thing about eBay, guys, is just that you have to be able to realize that, you know, you've got all this information there of what's sold and what hasn't sold. You don't have to guess. It's there for you if you will take advantage of it. So that's why I don't get it too much into like this whole thing of, you know, where people will say to me, hey, what brand should I buy or this? I'm like, it's a little more complicated than that. Like you've got to understand it. It is, I mean, obviously it's brand specific somewhat, but you've also got to understand condition and current demand and sell-through percentages and things like that. Like it's not just a brand question. And I think a lot of us especially on eBay, because eBay is a little harder to search maybe than sometimes than some of the other platforms. Not harder, just different. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of somewhere like Amazon sometimes, or the apps built out around the third-party apps. It's tougher. I mean, it's tougher for me. I don't know about you guys in the chat and so on, but I find it tougher. And it's just a long haul. Like if you're going to learn something like shoes, which is hundreds and hundreds of brands and all kinds of different fits and a whole different set of verbiage that's totally different from most other clothing. I mean, you think about it, like if you're selling women's clothing and you're looking at long sleeve button-up shirts, and then you go to men's clothing and long sleeve button-up shirts, a lot of the terminology is the same, or it's similar. Like you're talking about pit to pit, and you're talking about shoulder to to cuff and, things like that. But when you talk about shoes, like it's a totally different set of terminology, different than any other clothing item, really. Like, a size 8 in shoes is not the same as a size 8 in women's jeans. You might wear one in one and not the one in the other. So you've really got to do your research and go out and apply it, come back, do your research, go out and apply it, and so on. So, but I hope that, like, that was kind of helpful for you guys to see just kind of like a mindset. This niching mindset is the same with every niche, but they all have little slight distinctions that you have to adjust for. And there's just no other way to do it but to do it, guys. I hate to say, I wish there was some shortcut. And with shoes, like, I'm in it for the long haul. I know it's going to be a long time. So anyway, all right. So if I missed any questions or anything, I probably did. If I missed any questions or comments, please type them again or say them again in the chat. I couldn't see the chat while I was going through and doing the screen share, obviously. Yeah, so a couple quick reminders. I don't have Karin here on camera to say smash the like button, but if you're liking the content, please do that. And if you're new to the show, I want to thank you for watching for the first time. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, please leave a comment down below and just tell me what you thought, what your impressions were. I like to get feedback and hear it. I do take it to heart, and I do try to mold things, the best I can to what people suggest and so on. Sometimes it feels right and sometimes it doesn't. But if you're new, leave me a comment down below, and I just kind of like to get your impression. So anyway, people are saying they need to hire people. Adam had a question about, what do you do, Jason? Make a Word or Google Doc and then upload it to your phone. Yeah, I have used it as a Google Doc before. I think like Google Doc, you could do it as a Pages doc, or you could do it as a Sheets, either way. And just kind of have a quick list, like in alphabetical order, so that you can sort of go out and then just start to build on it. Like, don't put in there 100 brands to start off. Like, it's way too overwhelming. Start off with maybe 5, 7 brands, maybe 10 at the most, and go try to find those. Like, and if you're going to move into shoes from something else, I don't think you need to think about it like, I'm just going to jump completely into shoes and forsake everything else. I mean, you can add it on to what you're already doing, I think, in a lot of cases, and just go and, see what that feels like, and, go in and say, all right, I got these 5 brands that I'm going to look for. And then if you see something else that's interesting, of course, take the time and look it up if you want. But then if you can, guys, like if you've got a brand list and you've got something you're sort of building on, and you go out in the field and you research something new, it's important to sort of make a note of that. Because I guarantee you're probably going to come back to that at some point, and you're going to go, did I like this particular brand or not? And you won't be able to necessarily remember if you've only seen it once before. So it's nice to be able to go in and have a list and be able to scroll down very quickly. And Karin and I have made a couple lists around shoes and so on. Sometimes we'll just make it a note in the phone. If you have an iPhone or Galaxy or Android or whatever, you can just make a note in there too. It doesn't have to be super fancy, your list or anything like that. But having a list is a good thing, because you will forget. I promise you. It's just too much to remember. Let's see what else. Speaking of shoes, I was going to show you guys where I'm at with it. Yeah, I need to hang on one second. Let me put this right here. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to share kind of my spreadsheet really quickly with how I've been doing with shoes and what I think was good or is not so good about my shoe selling. Let me share this real quick. The infamous spreadsheet. All right, so I'm at 134 listed right now. Something looks weird about this number over here, though. I need to probably fix this. Oh, I see why it's doing that. And actually, I think I sold one today. I only sold 13 last month, which was kind of disappointing. I'm not entirely sure why it was such a low number. I only got 18 listed because I was definitely short of capital last month. So not a lot of shoes listed for sure. But I thought even some of the ones I had would probably pull through. I think I need to reconfigure this. I think there's something weird here. But I still got a long way to go to get to 500. That's for sure. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to list 100 a month because I'm not able to find 100 shoes a month, guys. I'm going to tell you that right now. I could go find 100 jeans in no time at all. But to find 100 pair of shoes that are sellable and meet sort of the goals I've set for those, I do not know where they're at. And they're probably out there somewhere, but I'm just not going to be capable. So this number is going to have to come way down. There's no way I'm going to find 100 each month with my current level of knowledge. So rather than beat myself up over that, I'm going to recognize that, you know, that's not something that's doable for me right now, and I'm okay with that. The average sell time is pretty good, 34 days. It crept up a little bit last month, so not bad. So about just about a month. Average sell price was actually higher again last month, 31 bucks, and shipping income 510. So the average price about 36.23, and my cost on them was 344. So pretty good return on investment, so to speak. There, not really investment, but return on my capital, we'll say. And shipping cost 668. The reason why my shipping income was a little bit lower last month, I was doing some free shipping, so I was pricing that in. But netting about $21 a pair, which is pretty good. I really want to be around that $20 mark. I think I can be there, and I think at $20 per shoe, I mean that's or $20 per pair of shoes, that's pretty darn good. That's like, it's about twice what I do on jeans, not quite twice as much on average, but pretty good. Profited about 278 on them last month, which was good. Nowhere near as good as I did this month, but still my second best month, even though I did not sell a lot. They were just higher dollar amounts. And the margin was 59.1%, which is actually pretty good. That's a good gross margin. So I will take that, but definitely a lot of room to improve. I am not a shoe expert by any means. Let's see, any other questions here? I got a couple of things to share with you. To determine sell-through rate, why not toggle between the completed and sold listings and divide sold by completed? Because I'm not sure I'm totally understand your description, your question there, Mark, but completed contains solds by definition on eBay. So you would kind of be double dipping if you did that. And it would not, you would not get the number you thought you were getting. Because say there's 100 completed with 30 solds. Well, those are also completed, if that makes sense. And then divide sold by completed. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I explained that well or not, but anyway, is a spreadsheet linked in the description? It is, Kelly. The one that I offer for on Gumroad is actually a little bit different than mine, but it's got the exact same guts to it. Actually, it's simpler to use than mine. And that's only because I've tailored mine to exactly what I'm doing. And mine morphs every week or so, it seems like, or every month. Let's see. Wade's Ventures, $10 super chat. Man, Wade, you are the man. Hey, guys, thank you very much for that, Wade. Check out Wade's channel. He started a YouTube channel on reselling, and you can click on his name there, actually, to check it out. And he's got a lot of great content. I've just started watching his videos, I guess, in the last few weeks. And a burgeoning, or burgeoning, is that the right word? A budding, a budding YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm talking about over here. But yeah, cool channel to go check out. So make sure you guys check out Wade's channel. And thank you very much for the super chat, Wade. I really do appreciate that. Very nice. Let's see. Oh, I was going to show you a couple shoes that I did sell as well. Let me pull those up for you guys. And, you know, I don't know. It's like, you know, do you get full dollar? I'll show you a couple I sold lately. This was a pair of, the first pair was a pair of, golly, sometimes this thing does not want to come up. So the first pair I sold, this pair was a pair of Rockport brown leather shoes, mock toe, size 11. These sold for $29.95. Did I have shipping on these? I don't remember. For some reason, I don't think I did. But these actually were nice little shoes, but they were nothing fancy. Rockports. These remind me of the old, almost like Weegens I used to wear when I was a kid, or not Weegens, the Sperry's that I used to wear when I was younger. But but they were actually Rockport, which was kind of cool, and nice little sale here. I think I only paid about $5 or $6 for these, so those went out. And then another pair that I sold recently. These were actually really nice. These are a nice pair of Born loafers, $29.95. I think the shipping was a little more than that because I don't think they fit in a padded flat rate, but I don't remember honestly. This was a nice pair of loafers, and they were just really sharp. You can see here just maybe a little bit of wear right here, guys. You can see here on the side, just a little, but nothing crazy. You can see when I zoom in. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Borns out. They're a size 12, which was a great men's size, a little bit more unusual, a little bit above the average men's size, but that kind of, I think, makes them, a little bit, you're going to sit on them sometimes a little bit longer. Bottoms are in pretty good shape. I probably could be cleaning these up a little bit better now looking at it, so rookie mistake. But not a lot of wear on the bottom. And like I said, the outsides of them, as you can see, just a little bit of leather honey on them. And they look pretty good. Nice little loafers, driving shoes, whatever you want to wear these on. So $30 plus shipping. Somebody got a good deal on these. I don't know what these go for new. If anybody knows, type in the chat. But I feel like they're pretty expensive. So a couple things I sold there recently. Let's see what else we got on here. I probably missed some other things. I'm so sorry if I missed your question. Man, only $3 cost of goods for shoes. Yeah. And yard time, let me say about that because I don't want to be misleading with that. I average my cost of goods a day. So if I buy 5 $1 items and then 5 $10 items, it'll average out to, whatever that total is between them. And that's the price I put in because I just do that for my overall inventory value. So sometimes it could be a little lower for shoes than what it really is. You can do it any way you want, but I do it that way for my inventory and accounting purposes. So sometimes they'll be lower, sometimes they'll be higher. If I bought a pair of jeans for $10, and then I sold that, it could be that was applied to a shoe cost and it would look a little higher. I know that's confusing, but I found it very tedious to go in and put in exactly what I spent for each item. It requires, especially if I bought a lot of different types of items in a given day. So a good sort of middle ground I came up with my accountant, Jared, was to just, let's average the cost over a given day. It'll still come out exactly the same in the long run in a given year because it's just averages, and which is just based on, the total divided by the number of items. But that's why sometimes it could look a little lower in a given month. It could also look higher in a given month than it really is as well. So $3 is lower than what I would normally pay. Since completes and solds are basically the same thing, why specify one over the other, and why are both necessary? Well, I don't think they are the same thing. You can have a completed that's not sold. So maybe I'm not understanding your question there, Purple Lily, completely. So, let's say you have 100 completed and 30 solds. Well, the solds are completeds, but there's 70 other items that didn't sell. So if you just looked at solds, for instance, you would have a distorted view of the market, because let's say that you pulled up solds in over a given 90-day period and you found 1,000 sold. You're like, great, man, this item's selling tremendously, over 300 a month are selling. But let's say on the other hand that there was 90,000 that didn't sell. That would be a pretty crappy sell-through rate. So you have to take into account what didn't sell and what did sell in a given period to sort of get the full picture. Otherwise, if you don't know the sell-through rate of your niche, you could end up sitting on items a lot longer than you thought, which will eat up your capital. So I don't know if that kind of answers that question or that comment, but that's why it's important to sort of look at it like that whole approach, just to sort of have that in your mind. Let's see. What else we got here? Somebody else, something. I'm sorry if I miss anything. What is the white background, Jason? Some kind of plexiglass?
On the shoe pictures.
Oh, well, we set it on a little shoe stand, and then the table that I have is actually kind of a, what would you say, a cream color, Karin? What is that color of the table?
Oh, it's like a speckledy white.
Yeah, speckledy whitish, but it's kind of an off-white. So I mean, I guess eBay wants us to start going towards all white backgrounds, so we may need to rethink that a little bit, because now it's kind of like I'll have a two-tone in there, and I probably need to rethink that. So thank you for bringing that up. No way a size 12 fits in a padded flat rate. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't yard time. They were big. I mean, they were, you know, it's the height that gets you on the shoes. It's not so much even the length of the shoe sometimes, it's the height. But those were kind of a longer shoe, and they were tall. Let's see. What else we got here? They're $90 brand new. Okay, so that person got a good deal. I mean, $90 down to like 30 or whatever. That's not bad. That's about right. Are you sticking with a men's shoe niche currently? Not only men's shoes, Sarah. Men's shoes do well, and it's funny when we go in a store. I tend to look through the men's shoes, and Karin starts in the women's. But we look through them all. Yard time averages their cost by the weekly haul. Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out some way to put in your inventory number. So whether you put in the actual or average, it still comes out the exact same total amount over a period of time, over a year. So I like to do shoes, but I have 2 pair of lists aren't moving. Got to figure out what I'm doing, not doing right with them. Yeah, Rags. I mean, look at your pricing and look at your photos. Make sure they're clear. Make sure they show all the features of the shoe. Make sure your pricing is somewhere in line with the pricing range for that. And, you know, and I'm certainly not an expert on pricing shoes either, as apparently you just saw. But that's kind of always good advice, I think, for any item you're selling. You've got to be in line with the market. You can't be way crazy although I did hear something interesting about that the other day that I'm going to share with you guys. I heard the other day somebody saying that they were talking about another seller and they had really good sell-through. But what was interesting is they were listing above the market for most of their items. And the idea was that because of the way eBay has started looking at your views versus how many click through to your listing, if you get a lot of views without a lot of click throughs to the listings, they might punish you in the search algorithm, in the search listings. On the other hand, if you get a lot of views and get a lot of click through, like a lot of people are clicking through versus how many are viewing, they push you up in the search. So this seller had the idea that if I price my items higher than what everybody else's are at, like let's say that it was shoes, and then this particular shoe sold on average from $35 to $50, and maybe they sell theirs for $55 or $60. There was this idea that not a lot of people, except the people who were really serious in buying that shoe or interested in that brand, would click on that high dollar one just to see what was different. But that also meant there was a good chance they would buy it. And that would help them, you know, the click through and the buy, and the more buys would help keep pushing up in the search, would help them get even more buy or more sales. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but I thought I'd throw it out there for public consumption. Let's get the rumor started, right? But in all seriousness, though, you know, you're always trying to sort of goose the algorithm and figure out how to get your listings seen by more people and get better click through and better sales and things like that. So something to think about. Perhaps you should define what eBay means by completed. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, Karin already posted it. Yeah, it just that it ended. You know, you got it on a 30-day listing and it ended. And that after that, within it either ended after 30 days or it sold. Either one is a completed listing. but you know, all solds are completed listings, but not all completeds are sales. Yes, I think I said that right. So eBay is making the white background mandatory. Apparently that's going to be something they want to move towards, Melissa, is my understanding, having a white background to set your items off. It kind of makes sense, actually. They want to get away from this listing things on the carpet and putting all these other items in the picture with it. Don't know if that's going to be made mandatory or not. That's just what I've been hearing through the rumor mill. So take it for what it's worth. Price implies value or worthiness in some cases. Well, it does. It does, Hank. You're exactly right. And maybe these sellers have figured that out and said, hey, I'm just going to price it higher than all the other ones and hope that people click on it, or the only people that are really serious about buying it, and thus I'll get a higher sell-through rate. Could be. Absolutely could be. All my listings price increased, folks. Drummer. We should do yeah, this was $20. Now yours for just $49.95. You know, it's like you've raised the price up. You know, we all like to think that people shop totally on price, but that's not really true. People shop with a lot of different things in mind. So you know, take that into account. You know, if anybody wants to try that experiment, I might even try it with a couple items, just price them higher than the market and see if they sell. I don't know. I have no idea. I'll literally go in and look for the highest one that sold in that amount and sell it for like maybe just a little bit more than that, maybe like 5% more. And it'll be interesting. Let's see if it gets clicked through a lot. Like why? And pick one that's a good pair of shoes or a good pair of jeans or shirts or whatever you're doing. Don't pick something that's crappy. That doesn't make sense. Like it's got to be something that's valuable, you know, sort of intrinsically. It's not going to work if you just put anything up there. So, you know, hopefully, oh, by the way, I want to mention, guys, thank you so much for coming out the other night and watching the Reseller Rehab show with Jennifer. It was a great show. Tino and Luke were a part of that as part of the panel. And we are going to have more of those shows because the feedback on that show has been so overwhelmingly positive and constructive that we definitely are going to do more of them. I have a list of people who've been emailing me and want to be part of that show format. And I will get back to you. We're figuring out the date for the next one. We've even considered doing it pre-recorded instead of doing it live, just because it matches up with everyone's schedules a little better. And I'm even working on having a mystery panelist for the next one too, who I think I can get. Somebody who's not a reseller, but is an entrepreneur and would have a whole different perspective on your business or another reseller's business. So I think that would be really interesting to have somebody from a whole different venue like that, or a whole different perspective. I mean, because we in the reseller world, we get like all in this group think mindset with some of this stuff. And sometimes you need somebody to come in and take a fresh look at it, or a fresh look at your problem, your situation. And, but yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming out and watching that video. It was a really good video. Jennifer, I know, was really appreciative. And we will be checking in with Jennifer. Oh, she's here. She's here in the chat. I didn't even see her. Yeah, Adam, and you're right. The problem with pre-record is no viewer participation. But honestly, there weren't a ton of questions around that video the other night. It was more just people, you know, watching. And I know Google loves the live shows, so I'd prefer to do it live. And it may have to be at some wacky time when we can make it fit for everybody's schedule. But it is what it is. When you're trying to get 4 people together and get their schedules all in sync, that's really tricky. But we'll see what we can do. But I have a list of at least 6 or 7 other people who want to be on this show, and we're going to try to make it happen best we can, guys. It's just going to take a little time. It's just getting other panelists. If you have another panelist too that you think would be a really good person to be one of the minds, so to speak, and let me know, because I want to keep rotating in other people who are going to see it from a different perspective than I do. Luke and I are similar in a lot of ways, but we're also a little different. Tino has a whole different feel to it because he's a different niche and a whole different background. And we like that. We want that. We want people with a different perspective. It doesn't need to be 3 clones sitting there talking to you. That would be really boring. So if you have suggestions for that, you can either email me at profsales44@gmail.com, which is in the show notes, or you can leave it in a comment here. It can be another YouTuber. It could just be somebody in the community, or it could be somebody in a totally different community, which would be really cool. So let me know about that. I do appreciate it. I'm open to other people being on the panels too, because I think it could be a lot of fun. Okay, yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to do it for the show. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe down below. And if you're a new viewer for the first time, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. And I'd love to hear from you. And so, just leave me a comment down below, and I will definitely check those out and see what I can hopefully learn from you. All right. Hope it was helpful, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Go out there and make something happen. Even if it's a little something, just make something happen. You'll feel so much better about it. All right, guys. All right. Well, that's going to do it for now. So I am Prof Sales saying good sales to you.